hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, as someone said. I hope you are all safe and well. Yes, it is Sunday night, and it is time for another live stream. I've just been catching up on the chat as everything's been going through, and hope you are all safe and well. It's Tim, James, Eat More Possum, Roddy, not sure which way to pronounce it, Smags. I'm Brandon Beans. I'm not going to get through everyone, but what a shambles. But I'll get through as many as I can. Anywho, hello. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the update that will be coming from DJI. Yes, I have it, finally. Yes, I have tested it. And yes, they do appear to have fixed the Goggles 3, which is good news. And we'll just talk a bit about that. And look, this was never really in doubt that it was going to happen. It just took a bit of time. And actually, I'm fairly comfortable with the amount of time it's taken as well. As long as they push the update out in the next week or so, I'll be a happy man. We're also going to talk about some new stuff that's landed, because there's been quite a lot of stuff come out this week. None of it I actually have, interestingly. Lorna said the A3S Tuesday. Yes, it is, by the look of it. Could be an interesting drone. Probably, being a betting man, I bet that will be the very best consumer drone you can buy from DJI, from a price point of view, from a performance point of view, from a size and overall features. The A series has grown into being the perfect drone in many ways from a camera drone perspective, and I suspect the A3S will take the king spot again. I do believe that the A3 has been one of DJI's best selling drones, period. The A2S and the A3, the two, I believe. I was a huge fan of the A. I remember when the original A came out, and it blew my mind. That's when I was still helping DJI out, actually, when I bought that. And that drone really did blow my mind. The only downside to it was the fact it used Wi-Fi link. But it's still one of DJI's sort of most capable small drones. But yeah, hopefully it's the A3S will be an interesting one. But we're also going to talk about everything else as well. Now, has my Goggles 3 flaps acted okay? It's a rather personal question, Brandon. The flaps on my Goggles 2 are completely rotted off. But the flaps on my Goggles 3 appear to be okay. Just going to the overhead. My flaps seem to be fine. So that's where I'm going to leave that one. But yeah. Good evening. That's thrown me. So anyway, let's start and let's get DJI out the way first of all. Obviously, this is DJI. And we're talking about this, the big letter that I sent out to them, and the huge post I put on DJI forum. Nada. Then the letter. Nada. Because I actually wrote them a letter as well. Keep going. We'll get there in the end. So anyway, look. The good news is DJI have a beta firmware, which is version 01.00.0429. And there's no release notes for it. There's no other information other than DJI started to hand this out to people on DJI forum or via DJI support, yet they won't give it to me, and they've basically refused to give it to me in more than one way. But someone amazingly supported me basically by lending me their login. Thank you very much. And I was able to update my goggles. I've been doing some tests and it is looking bob on. The signal recovery behavior works exactly as expected. And in fact, I will go as far as to say, I think they've improved upon how fast it recovers, even compared to the goggles 2 and Integra. Now, what I mean by that is this, and I haven't really tested this in the full world yet. Full world? Real world? But one big complaint on the Goggles 2 and Integra, or 03 I should say, is how long it always took to recover the link in signal loss. Compared to the original DJI FPV system, when you would turn around the aircraft if you lost signal, if the drone was back within range, it would reconnect just like that. Whereas 03 had a very noticeable delay. For the guys flying long range, often the comments were you'd be halfway back or more before the reconnection would happen. In fact, people have said it even got above their heads before the reconnection would happen. What I can say is on my testing so far, DJI have A, fixed the issue of the goggles refusing to reconnect. That works fine. Works exactly as it should. But also, it is incredibly fast to reconnect. I think quicker than Goggles 2 and Integra. So they hopefully have improved things greatly. Now, this update is for the Goggles 3 only. It's not for 03. It won't change anything on the E unit. It is just on the goggle side. That's where I always thought that it would be. And yeah, so here and now, it's looking like it will be safe again to use 03 on Goggles 3 when this update comes out. Now, with regards to a few things, there's going to be a bunch of bench testing that I'm currently doing, but that won't tell us everything. It will take some time for us to fully understand the overall behavior of this update and the firmware and the things that it fixes. There was two main issues people were complaining about. Issue 1 was just a random loss of signal, and then it wouldn't reconnect. But we now know why the reconnection wouldn't work. We know about that. But also the random loss of signal as well. Now, people have asked me, are they going to fix this? We don't know if this even was an issue. It's fair to say the random loss of signal could just have been individual people having problems, not everyone having issues. What also could have been the case is on the old system, you were getting the random loss of signal, but because it would reconnect, you may never have seen it. Micro stutters, micro disconnects may have been the reason of the cause, and because the link re-established, you may not have noticed it. What may have shown it more was the fact that on Goggles 3, the link wouldn't re-establish. So we're going to have to see people do a lot of testing on it. As for everything else that I put in the letter, because I also put in that letter, just to remind everyone, lots of issues, right? Low power mode, the fact that doesn't work as expected. Full custom OSD for iNav. Power output settings options. 03 signal loss slow recovery, as I was talking about there. There is no information on any of this. There is no guarantee that DJI will resolve any of this other stuff. The only thing we know is that they appear to have fixed the Goggles 3 issue. So I'm fairly happy. As long as it comes out in the next 2 weeks, there'll be no, look, I set a deadline of the middle of October for this to be fixed. That's a fair amount of time. People have to understand there has been a holiday in China. We have to be fair. And fixing it takes a little bit of time as well. What I'm really pleased about is DJI do appear to have fixed this. And what that means is we'll be able to go back to a normal, hey, use 03 with Goggles 3. Everyone's happy. All looking good. So that's the status of where we're at today with it. And look, it's largely fixed, which is good news. Just catch up on the chat because I've seen some comments. I'm going to go backwards on this a minute. Tested the beta firmware and confirmed the issue seems to be resolved. Put the ARM quad in the basement. Yeah, look, it's definitely behaving now. Definitely behaving. Thanks for doing the Lord's work. I appreciate that. I reckon you piss them off with attention to detail. They don't like getting found out. Yeah, look, DJI's a bit like Apple. Apple don't work with all creators. They work with creators that fit their brand. And that is the same with DJI. And look, whilst I shout and scream and I like to poke the bear, I'm not a person DJI is going to want to like to work with because the truth is I don't fully understand I wish they would talk to me properly about what their issue is, because I am more than fair when it comes to reviews. But it is what it is. It is what it is. One Willie FPV. This is an interesting thing, and I'm going to have to be careful here. I was told that next year there will be 2 new O4A units. Smaller for smaller drones and a standard one. Can I comment on this? I can confirm there will be 2. As for when, we don't know. As for smaller, that's complicated. We've got to wait and see what that takes. I'm firmly of the opinion that it is going to be extremely hard to make a one-board O3 air unit. Okay? And I'll explain why that is now. For those who don't know, I have a wiki. And this is a great time for me to promote the wiki a minute, because I'm going to use the images that are located on here. So we're going to go to DJI and we're going to go to O3 air unit. Now, the reason it's very hard for DJI to go one board is as follows. O3, okay, is a dual board unit, so we need to get down inside. Let's get to the proper build. So we've got the 4 boards here, okay? So O3 consists of a number of main chipsets. So you have the P1, which is the original RF chipset that they used in the original air unit, okay? They then added in the Eagle 3T, which is the main video processor, which basically took the processing off the P1 for the video and moved it into here. And they basically now use the P1 as just a modem. The P1 today is a dual chip, an application processor and the RF processor stroke modem. It's all in one, okay? But it's not very powerful in the grand scheme of things. So the big difference between standard FPV and O3 is they offloaded the video process into the Eagle 3T. Now, DJI with O4 are replacing this chipset, the P1. Okay, so if we look at the Avata 2 that has the P1, that has O4, still has the Eagle 3T. So again, we need to go back to FPV Wiki. And I need to get up the Avata 2 for this one. Okay, so we still have the Eagle 3T, which is over here. Where's the full board image? That's not a good one. Where's the full size ones for the PCB? There you go. That's the best one. So we still have the Eagle 3T, but they're now using the S2. Now, this chipset is smaller. That is without doubt. About 20% smaller. It's not hugely smaller, but it's definitely smaller. But you still need a 2-chip solution. Now, the reason they've been able to make this chipset smaller is they've basically taken out the additional processing. It doesn't need it, so it's not in there, and there's a new RF front end, new modem. But you still need this chip. So when it comes back to O3 or O4, you are still going to end up with a dual chip solution. That would be replaced by the S2. That will save some space, but it's not going to change everything. Now, the biggest part that will make DJI... So the biggest thing they could do is this board here. If you look at this board is basically entirely power delivery, the backside of this board. One of the main reasons that DJI O3, the FPV air units, are so reliable is DJI massively engineer their power delivery. You've got your system management IC over here. You've got more system management over here. DJI massively build in redundancy and a quality power circuit, and that means they're reliable. One of the biggest problems with Avatar HD and HD0 is they lack reliability due to the limited power delivery circuits, and that's why those air units burn out. So for DJI to sort of scale this down, they're going to have to give up something, and that might be power delivery. And that's going to be hard because DJI is a consumer electronics company and their warranty terms have to be different to everyone else's. You know, people accept HD0 basically sell their VTXs without a warranty. Cadex basically sell it without a warranty. Whereas DJI are not a company that's going to be doing that. Now, that isn't to say they can't shrink it down. We do know that they've now changed a couple of the other chipsets. There's a new smaller RF front-end chipset available, which was the IE 1000, but we saw a new version of it in... is it the Avata 2 the new one is in, or is it the Neo I saw the new one? No, it's not. The Avata 2 still uses the old one. The Neo uses a new one, which looks smaller. So there is a new RF transceiver that they might be able to use. And there's a couple of other things they might be able to do. So, could they make a single board 03? Or 04, I should say. I think it's going to be really, really hard. That isn't to say, though, there is an opportunity to shrink things down. Leave the SD card slot out. You can drop the stack height a little bit. Again, there is dead space around these PCBs. If you look here, look, there's dead space all around here where the USB port is. There is opportunity to shrink this. By how much remains to be seen. Now, I could be very, very wrong on a single board unit, but I do think it is going to be hard and close to impossible. But let's see. What I don't know, and the genuine truth is, I do not know exactly what they are bringing. I know some things, but I don't know a lot, and I don't have one. So that is where we're at today. And we're just going to have to wait and see. Vista is still the best VTX out there. Yeah, for sure. I do think DJI could possibly get a one-board Vista. You could get... because that's basically what Cadex have done. But again, the only real difference is power delivery. You know, DJI massively over-engineered their power delivery. I can't understate it enough. If you go back and actually look at the Vista as well, it's exactly the same on the DJI air unit and Vista, right? So the FPV air units, it's exactly the same on these. If you look at a Vista, right, that entire side of that board there and the entire side of this board here is power delivery. All power delivery, all power delivery. That isn't to say, though, DJI couldn't scale this down. There's actually a lot of dead space on a Vista when you look at... when you actually look at it, all of this is dead space. Ignore the connectors, but the rest of this is dead space. They could shrink this down. They really could shrink this down. Could be done. What DJI can't afford to do is be in the same position as HD0 Avatar HD and have stuff fail. They just can't. They just can't. But let's see. But yes, there are whispers of 2. Right, just catching back up on the chat a minute before we move forward. Stay high. Hi, Maztech and everyone. Quickly getting to the point. I have a problem with the OLED panels in the Goggles 2 with dead pixels. Sent them back to DJI once you advised, Mad, but I've already received the 4th pair, which had 1 dead pixel. Right, so, okay, so dead pixels are normal. You have to understand, every display is going to have a dead pixel one way or another. What the general rule is what is deemed acceptable. Is it 5, 10? If you're looking at and you've got a single pixel, it's going to happen. There is no displays really that don't have, without them going crazy money, that don't have dead pixels. What you've got to do, though, is like, what is an acceptable level? If it's visible in flight, then it isn't acceptable. If you can only see it in the menus, I wouldn't really lose sleep over it. None of my displays. Yeah, look, I don't believe I've got any on mine. It's a mixed bag with displays. This is the problem. It's somewhat out of DJI's control. Will the DJI Neo allow me to fly indoors in a restricted zone using RC2? As long as it hasn't got GPS, yes. If it gets GPS, it could give you problems. If it can overheat between plugging in and taking off, it's shit. One of the big things we're battling in all digital VTXs is heat. This is a huge problem, and no one's near solving that yet. No one is near solving that. I do think, though, you know, maybe 04. I don't know what the heat behavior is like on the S2. That I'm not 100% sure on. But look, there's a payoff. There is a payoff with all the VTXs. Is power delivery, reliability. Nothing comes for free. There's always a payoff on them. So that's the news on the DJI stuff. About the only other thing I will say is we're going to see the A3S this week, I believe. I don't know for sure because I'm not involved. But I think we might see the A3S this week. Here we go. Chase the View. Appears to be a new sort of wearable coming with it for tracking. DJI have toyed with this on and off for years. They actually released a watch years ago to beta testers. I wasn't sent it, but a couple of people were. And yeah, DJI have sort of messed with this wearable thing for quite a long time. For those who haven't seen it, it's on X. Where did I see it? Shall we search for... was it on Olos? Did Oslavi have it? Oh, there's an unboxing already. So there's already an unboxing. I hadn't seen this today, so there we go. This will be a great drone. I can promise you now. Wasn't there a rumour of a DJI mirrorless camera? Yeah, but DJI own Hasselblad, so it's not a particular shock. And DJI also work very closely with Panasonic. I would not be shocked if there was a sort of a DJI Panasonic collaboration. In fact, Panasonic have just released a DJI-centric version of the S5, which is designed for use with the Ronin gimbals last week. They released a completely pointless new version, the S5D, D standing for DJI, I may add. That makes it fully compatible with the Ronin gimbals and the DJI focus system. S5D, yeah, and it's compatible with the LiDAR system. So DJI making a camera wouldn't be particularly shocking. What's the quality? Pretty horrible. Anything interesting? Oh, it's bigger than I thought, mind. If you see it in his hand there. Looks nice, though. This will be a very good drone. This will probably be the perfect consumer drone. Genuinely. I think this will probably be freaking phenomenal. I could actually... That's a big gimbal. That is a big gimbal. He's struggling to get the cover off. Genuinely, I could be tempted on one of these. There you go, look. Looking good. But there is talk of a wearable as well for it. I can't remember... I can't remember where I saw the image. Dual cameras, 1 inch. This is meant to be the cameras. So we've got a 1 inch and a 1/1.3. Beacon in development. Beacon. Yeah, I remember the watch. There was a watch like 7 years ago on this that DJI toyed with. There it is. They tried with a watch. Now they've got this thing from the look of it. So, will the new box goggles from DJI have the same limitations as Walk Snail L? No idea. I would not expect... I would be shocked if the new goggle couldn't support the high frame rates from DJI. DJI are not likely to give that up. But I also wouldn't expect them to be 199 either. So yeah, look, DJI little wearable device. I don't know if this has GPS built in. Looks interesting. Yeah, look, my last camera drone I bought, UAV Futures, was the Mavic 2 Pro. That just gives you an idea. I haven't bought a camera drone for a very long time. The A3S would probably be the first. This will be this year. The Mavic 3 will be 4 will be this year as well. So, but that's what I will put money on is this. DJI will release the A3S for the general consumers, and the Mavic 4 series will go well up in price. They will start shifting the Mavic 4 up into prosumer now, because they've pushed the Inspire series well outside the prosumer category like they used to. The Inspire series used to be a prosumer drone. It was never a pro drone, it was prosumer, and they started over the years with the X5R and then the Inspire 2 with the X7 to push it into sort of the pro territory, and then with the Inspire 3 it just went straight into pro territory. No more consumer. You know, you're going to pay big money for this. And what I suspect now is they will want to try and fill that bottom pro category with the Mavic 5, 4, whatever number this is going to be for. They'll put that into the bottom pro category and almost prosumer pro, and then the A3S will be the consumer model. That'll be the A3S, Joseph. So that'll be that. That's where they're at now. Okay, so that's it on DJI. So let me just clear up my browser. Now, before we move forward, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. I'm just going to catch up. Something Lon just said, something people most have missed, 60 mile an hour top speed. Jesus, that's a speed. And I'm guessing that's with tracking as well. Before we move forward, I just want to say thank you for the $2.99, James. Mad versus Joseph. David Martin Gaff, the cost to produce DJI drones in the past 5 years has gone down, margins went way up. I don't agree. I tell you now, the cost to manufacture these has gone up massively. If you look what the amount of silicon in the DJI drones now, frankly, I'm shocked they don't cost more. If you look at what used to be in them, it was very basic. Now, there is a dramatic amount more in these products, just from a silicon perspective. If you look at the board on a Mavic 3, it is insane how much is on there. There's a good view of it, again, actually, on the wiki, because I created a there is an insane amount on them. DJI Western Components, this one. When you look at these boards, right, on the new Mavics, is the Mavic 3 here? Yeah, that's the Mavic 3 board. When you look at the out of ASICs and silicon on this board, it is insane. P1, system processor. Look at the size of the silicon on that ASIC there. So that is the silicon section. That is enormous. The amount of cost in these now is high. Honestly, it is high. Redaxer video ready? Yeah, that'll go out the middle of this week. I didn't get a chance to post it this week. I just need to make a thumbnail. But yeah, the Redaxer video's done. Completely done. Uploaded. It's on the channel. I just need to sort it. Will there be a possibility of incentivized? I don't know. I still don't know what DJI are going to do. So, look, if they're going to do 2 air units, potentially 2 cameras, perhaps we will see. That would somewhat help with the solution. Probably, look, the likelihood is they'll use the same sensor as you get in the Avata 2. That's the most likely outcome, but it's not clear today. It's just not clear yet. There are people with these air units in hand. I'm not one of them. I don't believe they're going to launch this year, although you don't know. You just don't know. What I can guarantee is I will not be included in the launch because I'm talking about it today, because DJI won't like that. Oh well. Because I'm not under NDA and they've not told me anything. Did DJI fix the Goggles 3 now? The test firmware fixes it. Hopefully it'll be released in the next week, 10 days. DJI will be DJI. I would expect all your usual YouTube channels to be doing the reviews. Would I now recommend the Goggles 3? I'm not going to change my stance until DJI release it and that's all done. But if it releases as it is working today and there are no more issues that come to light, I'm more than happy to continue to recommend the G3 as I had before. I'm not saying the G3 is a great goggle. It's okay. I do prefer it over the others, if I'm honest. Do I think the Neo will ever work with the Integra? There's technically no reason it can't. It's just down to what DJI want to do. I prefer the field of view on the Goggles 3 over the Goggles 2. The Goggles 2 is too wide. The fitment of the Goggles. The Goggles 3 is a lot more comfortable. Look, I usually suffocate to death with the Goggles 2. The Integras were a little bit better in that regard, but the Goggles 3 are so much more comfortable. So much more comfortable. I usually end up struggling to breathe wearing a set of Goggles 2. Genuinely, they stop me breathing. The Goggles 3 have by far the best fitment. And whilst I love a wide field of view, I think the smaller is slightly better. Recommended cooling solution for walk snail Moonlight. Gets too hot too quickly. Basically airflow. Fan or... yes. Also, Carl, you are right. The fan's better in the Goggles 3. That gummy is horrible with sweat. Range is on par. Look, I've seen nothing to suggest the range is any better or worse. In my initial testing with the Avata 2, not with 03, on par. On par. Look, there's 2 extra antennas in the Goggles 3, but they're not patches. They're not going to offer a huge difference. Any news on the Walk Snail V2 system? Nothing at all. Nada. I saw that the Goggles 2, there's no better range. They're both capable of the same. They're both capable of the same. There are people who will say, oh, my Goggles 3 don't work as well as my Goggles 2. There are people who will say Goggles 2 don't work. There's nothing between them. Their functionality is identical. They're the same. There's a new RF chipset that is no less sensitive. It'll be... If you're going to do those tests, you have to do tests back to back in identical locations in identical times within minutes of each other. Even doing a test the following day won't stand the same. Everything changes. They are technically... Goggles 3 have 2 extra antennas. They are Omnis. In theory, the Goggles 3 will actually perform better from an FPV bando perspective because they will have more polarizations available. But the biggest thing for me is the field of view on the Goggles 3 is better. By a country mile. Right. Moving on to the next subject. Now, there's been a bunch of things released that I haven't been sent. I don't know why SpeedyBee haven't sent me this, because they usually do. They seem to have sent it to everyone else. Yet they haven't sent it to me, but anywho. But it's not just about SpeedyBee. So, SpeedyBee this week have released a new AIO. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is quite interesting. And the reason I'm saying it's quite interesting, they've released an F405 AIO that supports up to 40 amp on the ESC. Now, they are not the only ones to release an AIO in this type of size, because GEP-RC also have a 45 amp AIO as well, which is a little bit dearer, called the Taker, but they do have an AIO as well. But the SpeedyBee one we will start with first of all is a 25 by 25 3 to 6S AIO supporting Blue Jay 40 amp ESC. Now, what's actually incredibly interesting about this, yes, it is an F405, but let's not worry too much about that. But just the amount of things they have packed onto this for $55.99, right? So, you get down here. Continuous 40 amp, 45 amp peak. Wireless Bluetooth configurator 2.0. ICM 42688P gyro. Upgraded barometer. Large soldering pads. The pads appear to be castellated as well. There is LED pads on this. So let's just get down what else is on this thing. Right there. SpeedyBee support, app support. LED pads on the corner. Let me just get down everything else. They've got SPA06 barometer. Easy configuration. USB-C port. Integrated on the board. With an extension module available. There's an external BEC module available for it as well. There's no BECs on board as far as I can tell, but we'll check that now. But what's also interesting, right, is just the amount of I/O on this thing. It even has I2C, SDA and SCL, so you can run GPS. This thing literally has everything. Now, size-wise, they're showing it there. It is 13 grams, I think it is. Let's just go down. SpeedyBee is saying the weight is 13.6 grams. However, as a AIO for a 5-inch, that's good enough for many 5-inch quads, including the CNC. That's quite impressive. So, there's 5-volt BECs, but there's no 9-volt BEC. The 9-volt BEC comes on a separate board. But I have to say, should make a nice Arduino AIO as well with a Barrow and I2. So 100% Wes. 100%. But here's what's also interesting. They're including, for $55.99, a soldering practice board. That is a genius move. I like that, SpeedyBee. I like that a lot. Yes, black box on board too. Yeah. That is a great deal for that money. I honestly don't know how SpeedyBee are doing it, if I'm honest. I genuinely don't know. But that is a hell of a nice looking AIO. I don't know. We're going to have to... I don't have it, so I can't comment on the thickness of the board. They're saying the board's 1.6 mils. But you can even see it's got proper castellated pads as well. That's good. That's a really nice... Does the black box work with the OSD this time? I don't know. I don't have it. I don't know. I can't comment. I wouldn't have thought they'd made the same mistake. I wouldn't have thought they'd made the same mistake. Bloody nice board. But they're not alone. GEP RC also have their own equivalent AIO. And GEP seem to be trying to bring the fight to SpeedyBee a little bit here. And whilst they're not quite as cheap, they're not running crazy more expensive. You know, $8. But GEP also have their own board as well, which also has wireless control. But this is a G473. ICM 42688P on this. So again, SpeedyBee are not alone in making that's the one we tested the other day with M8 GPS and no Barrow. That AIO GEP has no Barrow. So does the GEP have no Barrow? Ah, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, that's a bit of a downer. Yeah, they don't. That's interesting. GEP also have... I noticed this week, GEP have been pushing out some stuff. They've got a new stack available as well. Let me just go up to the top on this, which is quite interesting. A Take a Stack F745 with Bluetooth. 60 amp stack for $79.99. That's quite good value. What is the ESC based on this? Let's just have a look, because I haven't looked. BLHELIS. So GEP are also trying to sort of price fight SpeedyBee at the moment too, which is quite interesting. It's also quite funny because they show it working with the SpeedyBee app. If you dual gyro on the GEP as well. Look at this. dual gyros. They've got the MPU6000 plus the ICM 42688P. Ardra will love that because Ardro can do multiple EKFs. So you can do sensor fusion on Ardro. So you can run 2 EKFs on that, which you won't be able to do on Betaflight and iNav, but you can run 2 EKFs, each on each gyro, and that'll be very cool. Very cool indeed. And they actually tell you simultaneous gyro is not supported in Betaflight and iNav, but it is an Ardra pilot. Bluetooth wireless tuning with the SpeedyBee app, literally showing SpeedyBee on the website. Onboard 5112 flash as well. So yeah, Gep are doing some nice stuff. And I tell you what I also noticed, and I didn't realise this, Gep have released their own motors. Now this is obviously going to be directly competing with iFlight. Really, if you think about it. Now I don't know what these are like. I don't know if anyone has tried these. I didn't even know these were there. They're definitely into Zing money. They're a bit more than some, but you got some 2207s. Let's have a quick look. $1960 kV. Interesting. Looks a nice motor. The Gep motors are made by RCM Power. At least the speed times 2 were. That's interesting. That is interesting. If they are being made by RCM Power, they'll be nice motors. What's the 2306s rated at? Yes, it's a render. Is that a render? Yeah, that probably is a render. What's the rating on the 2306? 1860 kV. Okay. But it's interesting that there's another motor choice. So what spec are they saying? So what are we... N52H magnets, NMB bearings, NSK, starter 12N14Ps. What's the shaft made out of? Single strand copper, which is good. What's the shaft? Aerospace grade glossy design. Doesn't say what the shaft's made of. Yeah, only in a render would that winding be so neat. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, that has to be a render. That's a nice render, mind. Yeah, it's got to. Yeah, it's definitely a render. Very nice, though. Very nice indeed. Look, I'm a big fan of the iFlight motors. The Zing 2s are fantastic. Brandon just said something interesting. There are people working on a new sensor fusion fork of Betaflight. That's interesting. I've also got to watch the new modes video, which I haven't watched yet, to see how it performs. Mape, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Can I compare AIO choices? At the moment, I can't do it, but it is something I'm looking at doing. Thank you for that. What? Just reading it. Do I think really release a non-M variant of bolts available to purchase the public? Has to be a render, Cody says. Yeah, it definitely is a render. What do I think about the new RCM Power Major Wasp version 2? Look, I don't review motors. RCM Power makes some very nice motors. The Wasp, is the current draw too close to the Rush FPV Extreme Edition 60 amp? Would it be okay? I'd find it hard to believe you would burn an ESC in general use. I think you'll be fine. They definitely draw some power, their motors. I wouldn't expect you to burn a FET. Just catching up. MCFPV. I'm not sure. Is that a conversation going on? Because I don't know what that means. I'd be tempted to use that SpeedyBee on a 5-inch. I think that is borderline 5-inch capable. I'd be interested to see that on a standard 5-inch and see how it performs. I really would. That's almost ideal flight controller. And at 55 quid. At 55 quid. But just, you know, an ESC will cost you more than that. So you may as well just have an all-in-one. But it remains to be seen how it holds up. I converted my entire fleet over to 03 to start uploading again, but I can't get away with the goggles too. I can't concentrate on flying when the screen half blurred. Yeah. You can use the zoom out feature though. Remember, the goggles too, you can zoom out the display. Zoom it to 80%, and that's basically equivalent. I think it was 90% was basically equivalent to Integras. I haven't configured it to goggles 3, but 80 or 90, just do the zoom out to 80 or 90. Will 40 amp be enough to spin 6S 5-inch? It'll be close. It'll be interesting to see how it holds. That's probably the one test I would do on that flight controller. I'm going to ask SpeedyBee to send it to me, and I'm going to see if I can burn it out. I'll email SpeedyBee. Yeah, you've got zoom out on the FPV DJI goggles too, so you can zoom the display out to reduce the field of view. So just zoom it to 90 or 80%. I'd be tempted to try that SpeedyBee controller on a 5-inch and just toss it around the field and see if it burns out. You can do it on goggles 3 as well. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Hi, oh yeah, message on Discord regarding analog VTX mic compatibility with HD0 headphones. I have no idea. That is a complex subject. To be honest, that is one for the HD0 Discord. I don't use audio. So I don't know how HD0 behaves with audio. I've not tested it. To be honest, that is one for the HD0 guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's not one I've tested. I'll see if I can do some tests this week. It's not one I've tested. I don't even have a VTX set up with audio. I don't think 6S 5-inch probably might kill it, but the review's seen 3 or 4-inch. Oh, definitely. Is there a way of doing live audio with... There is no live audio on any of the digital FPV systems. That's the simplest term for me to use. There is no live audio. No compatibility on analog audio on the ones you can actually buy. Off the shelf, consumer, made by a manufacturer. That audio is just a thing that doesn't exist in FPV outside anymore. It just doesn't. I don't. It did have a mic, yes, the original one, and I know someone was going to bring that up as I said it, but it's safer to say there's no digital FPV system you can buy today that has that, because that's technically end of life. But yes, the original one did have a mic in it. In the camera. As long as you didn't have it full tilt all the time. Be interesting to see if it would go bang. Interesting. A lot of cheap stuff. The hills have FPV. Yeah, you can just go bang. You know, look, there is absolutely a market, but I don't know how big this market is, for a analog style audio transmitter for FPV. Doesn't even need to be digital, right? It doesn't need to be digital. An analog wireless transmitter. How easy could we make an analog audio transmitter? Analog audio transmitter on 5 gigahertz. On AliExpress, there are these modules for $16. UHF wireless digital audio transmitter. So if we look at these, so what frequency are they on? 500 to 898. So there we go. You've got an antenna. You've got to carry something on board. You won't connect this to your FC. You'd just be putting a mic and then it'll be transmitting. Audio signal out, negative, audio signal out, audio signal. I'm sure there's smaller modules. It's just not something that's done anymore. Yeah, funny enough, I was thinking that you could just put a cheap VTX on. Yeah, I was actually just thinking that. Technically, what is a module pinout again? Technically, so what is the pinout on a module? It's been a while since I've looked at a pinout on a module. Does anyone have the pinout? So you got audio left and right, haven't you, on the out on a module? Here we go. It wouldn't take a lot just to pin this out directly from the module into an amp. It really wouldn't take a lot. So that's the standard pinout, I think, on most modules, isn't it? So you got audio left and audio right. All you would really need is an amp, an audio amplifier, a wire and an audio amp. You just want ground and audio off the module, just going to an audio amp. It wouldn't even need to go through the goggles. That would be the quickest way with an analog setup that already has it. That's all you need to really do. Ignore the goggles, what the goggles are doing with the audio. Just pin a wire off the module, 2 wires, ground and audio, into a small audio amplifier, like a small headphones audio amplifier. And that would be it. That would be the quickest way of doing it. Oh, thank you, Eriscope, for the £5. Can we get a V2 of the Manstech ruler? Yeah, I need to spend some time on that. I definitely need to spend some time on that. For those who are new here and never seen one, I probably should show you. I don't have many left. Where's my personal one? I don't know. I'll have to grab one of the... Oh no, that's a bad one. That's how many bad ones I've got. These are all faulty. Where's my personal one? I don't actually know. Where's that hiding? Okay, for those who never saw one of this, no, I don't. Well, I have 2 left, which are my own. So for those who haven't seen this, this is the original Manstech ruler. So let me just zoom out a minute. This is one of the ones I haven't opened. For those who didn't see, this is what the original Manstech ruler looked like. This wasn't one of the best ones. There was a couple I held back because there were some marks on the paintwork. This is one of the originals. You've obviously got inches and centimeters on the top. You've got your frequency channels, your DJI FPV, your RF power measurements down there. You've got LiPo voltages, prop size. But the real beauty on this is on the other side. I even put a Zing motor. The Zing motor looks awesome in gold. But if I flip it over, I ridiculously packed this side with info. So on here we had Happy Model EP1, EP2 pinout, Crossfire and Tracer pinout, HD0 VTX pinout, DJI original FPV ear unit pinout, Caddx Vista pinout. Looks awesome on the DJI FPV system hack. There was some stuff that didn't quite work out. Capacitor, diode protection. Let me just refocus. There we are. VTX stick menu options up in the corner. And there was even a camera angle chart down here. And there's even info on soldering temperatures along the top, along the bottom actually. If you look down there, soldering iron temperature 280 to 400 C, hot air temperatures. Yeah, there wasn't many of these. I don't have many left. I got a couple of my own in here somewhere, which I usually reach for when I'm making content, but I don't know where they've gone. That's a new one, but it does have marked paintwork. Hi Ian, could you please suggest me which Caddx ear unit I pair with the DJI Goggles 2, new to FPV? Right, so Vista. So for the ear units that are compatible with the DJI Goggles 2, the DJI ear units that are compatible with the Goggles 1, the Goggles 2, Goggles 2, Goggles V2 and Integra. The Caddx Vista RunCam Link are identical, other than the cameras. Caddx Vista and RunCam Link. They are PCB. So Caddx Vista, RunCam Link, DJI 3. They're the 3. Cadex Vista and Runcam Link is the same thing, just from different people with different cameras. But Cadex Vista and Runcam Link. None of the Walk Snail Avatar VTXs are compatible with DJI. Okay, moving on. The next subject. This thing. Now, I don't have this, but I think I've got one on the way. Well, I think I will when I reply to the email. FLywoo have released something called Flytimes 85. Now, this is a bit of an unusual looking drone. And when I first saw this, I was like, what is this? It's got these aluminium pieces that go off to the side, and this is a TPU frame that goes around the outside. Now, this is rather a strange, unusual cinewhoop. It is designed to carry the O3 air unit as standard, but rather interesting when you look at it. It isn't cheap. It is 306 British pounds. And that will be without the O3 air unit. Is it with it? Oh, no, that's with... So, wait a minute. Let me just try and figure out. So, bind and fly DJI Vision drone kit, no O3 light. So the drone kit on its own, no O3 light, is £99. And the O3 light version, bind and fly, is 306. Okay. So you're paying, obviously, for the light kit. Pre-installed. You can get it with Express ELRS, or you can get it with TBS Crossfire as well. I don't know why you would have a quad of this size with Crossfire, unless you only had Crossfire, obviously. But yeah, quite a weird thing. Quite a weird thing. I like the colour. Vibration isolated camera mount. But yeah, I wonder how that flies. I wonder how that flies. And then you've got these TPU propeller guards, which is quite cool, actually. The colours are targeted JB for sure. And a new locking battery compartment. I'm not sure I would call this a battery compartment. But yeah, quite interesting and different compared to the others. I guess it will bash up a bit better, is my thoughts on it. It probably will... I'm guessing it will fly... It won't bash up quite as easily, is what my guessing is. So if we go through the images, if you go through 3D model view, so let's go, there it is there, look. Oh, look at this, that's quite clever. It's a render, but it's a nice render. I'm guessing it won't bash up. I guess the TPU will give it a bit of bounce. The TPU. Shouldn't also get too much of the ducted behavior in this. Very weird though, isn't it? Very unusual indeed. XT30 capacitor. I look at it. My God, look at this. Look how far in you can go. That's incredible. How have they got an antenna cable? Ooh. They've passed the antenna cable through the USB-C port. How did they manage to do that? That's clever. Never seen that before. That's new. Interested in seeing that in the real world. I wish my solder joints looked that good. Yeah. That is a very cool render. Fair play to them. That is very cool. That is very, very cool indeed. Why have you never heard of wired USB? That cable is the Easter egg. By the way, if their ESC wiring, if their O3 wiring is not that clean, I'll be coming after them. Oh look, the wires goes just straight into the port. That's new. It's a new style connector I've not seen before. Ah, I figured out you can even look at that. That's really quite cool, isn't it, huh? I'm tired of product renders and real photos. Oh wow, look at this render. Yeah, I know. Here we go. That's quite cool. But yeah, interesting drone. Weird. Very, very weird indeed. Wonder how it flies. Okay, so that was predominantly the subjects I had in the bag tonight, and the rest of this is Q&A. Something just interesting. There seems to be something new bubbling from TBS. A new wing is what seems to be coming according to the rumours. But we'll have to wait and see. I think there's probably going to be some noise around that in many ways. Let me just get off this render because that's going round and round and round and making me dizzy. Have I tried anything besides the Runcam AIO? Have I tried anything besides the Runcam AIO? I thought that was the old one. That fast video I saw, that was with the one where it came screaming past. Would I recommend the Nomad module if I wanted to build a long-range 7-inch? I think... Oh yeah, William Town. We'll come on to that in a minute. Yeah, there's no reason not to recommend the Nomad. The Nomad's a bit of everything, so for the price, yeah. It's probably the best overall choice. While it was mentioned, there's been talk of a price increase on DJI Goggles 3. I've not seen this in the UK. So the UK, the pricing looks the same, but apparently there's been a price increase. So in the UK, 579, and I thought they were 579 before. What are they in the US? Let's have a look. Have they gone up in the States? Goggles 3, 499. What are people saying they've gone up from? Because I thought they were always that price. Just catching down. Would I recommend the Nomad? Yeah. Price increase? Yeah. Someone said, US and Audra, DJI should hire me. I don't think DJI can afford me. The price they would have to pay would be far, far too high. They'd have to be honest. The price of freedom. How are my adventures with OpenIPC so far? Bidirectional link is going to be seriously overhauled the entire setup. I spent an extortionate amount of time putting the video together for the ground station. That's done. That'll be going out probably Wednesday or Thursday. My build of the Mario quad is built. I haven't had a chance to fly this yet. I haven't been doing a lot of stuff the last couple of weeks. I have some family stuff I'm having to do. For instance, today, if you look at my fingers, I'm covered in paint. I've been painting my bathroom today. Unfortunately, whilst I might be an internationally famous YouTube star, I still have to paint my fucking bathroom. So that's life. Now I've lost the button. There it is. So the Mario quad is built. I built it in the TBS frame. So the Mario is built. You can see it in there, look. That don't look very... I had to create like a TPU mount to hold it, which I'm not very happy with at all, if I'm honest. I wanted something to hold the VTX in place, but I'm just a little worried it's gonna cause too many issues with airflow. I've had to remove the fan because it won't fit in the frame with the fan on top. But this is the TBS build, the full TBS build. So we have the AIO inside. We have the Mario camera up front. We're running this on Zing ePro motors. So I can't remember where I'm at with this. I can't remember if I finished configuring Betaflight. It's got OSD and everything working. It's all good to go. So it's quite a clean, tidy build. I'd like a bit more airflow over the VTX, if I'm honest. I don't quite like how much this is restricting airflow. But yeah, and you can see I'm using one of the dual DJI antennas on the back from Flyfish RC. So that's ready for testing now. Eduardo said, if you haven't flown yet, get the adaptive link. I need to catch up on where that's at. So where I'm at with OpenIPC today, I need to now fly that, and I need to start on the Mario video because I just haven't had time. The truth of the matter is, look, I have a limited amount of time at the moment, and I wanted to get the VRX video done because that sort of follows on from the next one, and then part 3 will be that. And look, the problem, what you would say, the problem and the benefit of OpenIPC are the same things right now, is that nothing is stable. And what I mean by that is there's no ground zero, base zero. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing from a consumer perspective because what you don't have is a walk-in point for people. There's even what are the best settings for this AIO is debatable by many people. What frame rate options, what you do. Look, OpenIPC at the moment can do a lot of things. It can do almost anything. It doesn't necessarily do any of it well or easily. And that's not me being negative. That's just my point of, you want an adaptive link. You can hook up an adaptive link. You want OSD. That's actually a lot simpler now. OSD is nailed now. You want a ground station. You can build it. You can, but it's not. One big problem OpenIPC will face is this. Today, OpenIPC is like a dog with 10 dicks. It doesn't know which hole to shove it into. And the issue it has is, there's talk of anything and everything, which is great. But what it needs is to have a base point to go from. And that is, here's an example. OpenIPC goggles, as people talk about building goggles. We don't need goggles, right? We need a tidy VRX solution, which is in the works. And we need a stable system that has the basic options we come to find on the others. So those basic options will be, I don't really care about an adaptive link. If it brings benefit, it's important, but it's not necessarily important for day one. Day one is, you know, a nice user-friendly menu option. It plugs in, you can choose the bandwidth you want, you can choose the bit rate you want, you can have it then, you know, here's the best freestyle settings, here's the best race settings, these are the best fixed wing settings. The big risk with an open source project is trying to do everything. And this isn't unique to OpenIPC. This is the same for any open source projects. The risk is the possibilities can overwhelm and distract from getting to a solid point. And that is the problem. You know, there is nothing I've seen that's horrible so far. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not horrible. And that's good. And I think I still fundamentally believe it's a more viable fixed wing option today. And that isn't say you can't fly it with a quad. I just think it sort of somewhat suits fixed wing. The size of things, the behavior and things like that sort of lean it towards fixed wing. But that doesn't mean it can't, you know, there's a guy who's doing a huge amount of testing and he's throwing it around in a small quad. Really is getting some really great results. So that's where things get complex. Eduardo says one thing to keep in mind is because open source, a lot of people decide what to work on and things. Yeah, and that's fine. I think where the project has to sort of step in is give direction to where it needs to go. So we want to be in part one. And if you look at what really made Express LRS so successful, was there's been some very sort of predefined milestones, and that's sort of what we need to see. You know, what I'd like to see is like a 1.0 hardware where, and I don't mean it has to be from a certain brand, but we know that all behaves that way, whether it be Emacs, I got the Emacs hardware on the way as well. Emacs is sending that to me. Today everything's a bit loose and a bit, if you want to mess around, it's absolutely worth a look. You know, there is some really interesting stuff there. But it's got a long way to go before you sort of say, hey, don't buy Avatar, consider this. Or don't buy DJI, consider that. Don't buy HD0, consider that. You know, today the fundamentals remain the simplest way to get into FPV is DJI. That's fact. I would still say DJI is the simplest way. And Avatar now. Avatar is probably out the box as simple as DJI now. That's fair to say for the bits that work. And then HD0. And you know, I think digital FPV is in a good place. Don't underestimate what DJI will do next. What comes next will be a very big teller of how DJI feels about FPV. They've tickled with FPV for a few years. The next one will be a biggie. The next one is, do they really want to take control of it? Is there a hack to cast video over USB-C into goggles too? No. Just going back to Team Black Sheep, I think the community needs a new wing as it's been all quads. I agree, actually. I'm pausing for a reason, and I have to be careful. I am very excited about a new ready-to-fly wing from anyone. I would really be excited about that. there are complexities to everything that needs to be understood, but I would be really interested in a ready to fly, or at least fully ready to go kit. And what I mean by that is a kit that you can buy, flash a specific build of firmware on that is pre-tuned, and you're ready to go. I don't want to mess with tuning. I don't want to mess with... I want a wing that I can plug and go. That's what I would like to see. That's what I would like to see. Dave Martin said, honestly, the Neo is a copy, the software at least, with the smartphone. I don't agree, David. Sorry. DJI did it long before the Hover Air X1 did. DJI have had Wi-Fi controlled drones for a very long time. People have just forgotten about it. The Hover Air X1 came well after. Here's something people didn't realize. The original DJI Mavic Air you could control by fully Wi-Fi. You would press and hold the button on the back of it, and it would give you the full app control with on-screen joysticks, with on-screen controls. The Tello came way later than that. DJI have tickled this market for a long time. The Neo is bringing back what DJI did a long time ago. For those of us who've been around a long time, Lon will know. Are you still here, Lon? The Tello has a lot. Sorry, the Neo has a lot of what DJI did a long time ago in it. I can see it. For those of us who've been around, I know it's there because I saw those features ages ago. Now, there's no question DJI abandoned that market. Honestly, they did. They walked away from this sort of selfie camera drone stuff, but they had it all there on really early drones. No, I didn't see the Starship Return today. I need to watch it. Flying the Neo Wi-Fi doesn't have GPS. If you're outdoors, it'll have GPS. It always has GPS. The Neo does use GPS when you're outdoors with Wi-Fi. You only don't have GPS indoors, obviously, because you're indoors. But you have GPS outdoors on Wi-Fi. Yeah, I think a wing... I do think there's definitely a market for an FPV wing. I agree. I think there's been a lot of Chinese sort of done some stuff, but not great. But yeah, I would really like to see a decent product come in that market. Agreed. 100% would like to see it. I really would. And it's going to be interesting to see what TBS deliver. It's going to be interesting to see how it performs. It's going to be interesting to see... Oh, yeah, VTOL. Do you know what? You are right. I would love someone to do... Doesn't return to home if offered. The Neo flying without either a radio doesn't return to home. It just hovers if lost connection, like the Hover X1. Yeah, that doesn't mean it's not using GPS. That just means it's not using return to home. that there's a fundamental difference. What you're saying is it doesn't have return to home. That's not to say it's not using GPS. DJI have just chosen not to enable the return to home feature. That's a choice. They can do what they want. The drone will still have return to home. It can still mark the home point on takeoff. That's purely a decision that DJI have made intentionally. It's not a limitation of the hardware. They've just decided they would prefer it to stop and stay in place. And I suspect the reason for that is quite simply they don't want to encourage long-range flights on Wi-Fi. And in fact, I am sure they introduced that on the Air. I'm sure the Mavic Air had that limitation as well. I'd need to check. It's been a while. There's definitely something when on Wi-Fi that had that limitation. It wouldn't return to home when on Wi-Fi. They just chose. It's always been, there was always an 80-meter limitation of distance. Cool, I'm going back a bit now. Intentionally, if I remember. And I'm sure they basically set it so it would just land. It's just a copy of the Hover X1. You could argue, I don't say it's not a copy. The Hover, I don't really see how it's a copy. It's a selfie drone. That's like saying every car's a copy of another because they all do similar things. I think from a selfie drone perspective, there are things that a selfie drone will do when in certain modes, and it somewhat seems logical to me that in Wi-Fi mode you put limitations in place, and one of those limitations might be you don't want to offer a return to home feature because you're generally in that mode tracking or using features that mean it's following you or you're flying it with you, and return to home really isn't a feature that makes sense in those situations. If it's tracking you, why would you want it to go back home? The most sensible solution is stop where it is. I wouldn't, the Hover X1 in the automatic mode, DJI never implemented the software and functionality of the Hover X1. It doesn't matter. The Hover X1, the Neos, how much cheap? Everything I've seen about the Hover X1 is they're heaps of shit. I'll be honest, I refused to review on them. So I had a look at one day and I was offered one to review and I was like, no thank you. The Pro looks quite interesting, but the price is insane. Yeah, the Spark would return home, but it's a software choice. It's not, DJI have made a choice on this. They can, look, DJI at times are very rigid in their thinking. So they'll make a decision based on, like, this is a selfie drone. We intend it to do this, this, and this only, and they won't deviate from that. And that somewhat makes sense. Would they have made it to compete with the Hover X1? Of course they are. DJI would have looked at how anything is selling and going, don't like how that's going. Let's put a nail in that coffin. It's where you benefit for the DJI is really the camera quality above everything compared to the others. No one really comes close on the camera drones. But look, it's a cheap drone, 150 quid, $150. I can't remember the exact price. It's not terrible. Okay, so this wing from TBS looks interesting. Hey, between DJI and Cadex, if I could only have one, I would still choose DJI. I would choose DJI. Genuinely, 03. For me personally, 03 is basically perfect. In the end, I still choose DJI. Yeah, I don't whoop or micro. I would probably go DJI then analog, or DJI and HD0. I would, if I could only have one, it would be DJI. But then I would jump between DJI and analog if I wanted analog, you know, something small, and put up with that, you know. You know. The software of the Neo is copy identical to the X1. I've not used the X1 extensively. It didn't not look like DJI to me. So I don't know what the other one looks like. I think the fact is this. If you want things to look like something else, it will. I just felt it looked like the DJI UI in a slightly different setup. But I didn't notice it looked particularly different. It's still the app. It's still a view. You've still got the controls. You've got. I don't really know how different these things can look. You know, if you're talking about what looks like something else, Autel literally ripped off the Fly app. Just catching back on the chat. Hey. Any time on the crawler? No. Look, I'll be honest. So, I'm going to sneeze. Get that out the way. At the moment, my time is very limited. So, look, from a content perspective, you're going to be getting slightly less. Although I've put a few videos together today. But I've got some stuff I want to work on in my head. The voice is in my head. I've got the stuff here for the crawler. I just haven't done it yet. I've got the wheel weights, I've got the inside, and I've got the stuff I need to put onto it. I have all of the bling. I'll probably do a live about that one day. I want to get it done over winter. I have some stuff I want to get done this year. I have some stuff in my head. I want to get now back onto the OpenIPC testing because I've had a few weeks off. But I'm also quite busy in my personal life at the moment. There are times where I have a lot more time to make content and there are times where I don't. Obviously, if DJI or Cadex get off their arse and release a new system, then I will be heavily back onto that. I have taken a bit of a step back on accepting some of the stuff for reviews. That's probably why companies haven't sent me things, because I sort of haven't. Some of the stuff they offered before I said no to, and now that means they just don't ask. That's how it is. I'm not worried about it. Look, I'm intrigued about this new AIO from SpeedyBee. Genuinely, I'm just not sure I have the time to test it right now either. So that's part of the problem. You know, this isn't a full-time channel, although it can take up a full-time amount of time. I've got some stuff I want to get finished in the background. And, you know, we're going to be wrapping up this year fairly quickly at this rate. I think what I'm probably the most excited about is, you know, O4's around the corner. But O4 won't be that much of an exciting product. I think we probably know what we're going to get from O4 right now. A Vata 2 style product. I am intrigued about this wing from TBS, but there are some things that I'm dubious about. And Cadex, if they ever get off a version 2. And then OpenIPC I'm working on. But that's a slow burner. You know, OpenIPC isn't a video a week. It's going to be, you know, the problem is I haven't looked at the group for 2 weeks. Fucking so much would have changed. It's ridiculous. Then I got to try and figure out what's going on. It needs a newsletter that they sent out once a week with what's changed. Get on with it, Eduardo. Anytime in the next 10 minutes, please. A weekly newsletter, because I got to try and freaking catch up. So there's a bunch of stuff I want to get finished for the end of the year. 04, 4K, no. I don't think live feed will change. I don't think you'll see a 4K live feed anytime soon. I don't think we need it. I don't think we'll see 4K live. I think 1080p is the peak. That's what we've got with DJI. That's the peak. That's the peak. So yeah, for me, the end of this year now is continuing to work on OpenIPC. Excited about 04. And I'm trying to not spend 1,800 quid on a 4090 because I need it. My video editing is driving me nuts. And I'm sitting here. I might buy myself my end of year gift of a 4090, but we will see. Walk Snail, HDMI and VTX. I have no idea. They don't tell me much. Cadecs don't really tell me much anymore. I think I get the begrudging. Captain Bry, yeah. I'm sure the cost will be reasonable. Well, I was holding out on a 4090 until the 50 series came, hoping for a price drop. And then I heard the fairly solid rumours that NVIDIA are basically ending production of the 4090 in the run-up to the 50 series to ensure that there's no supply left. So, you, NVIDIA. You. So there is going to be no discounts. You will pay full price. And in fact, what we're going to do with the 50 series is stuff the 90 up into the old Titan territory. That way you can give them even more money. So what they're going to probably do is, the rumor is the 5090 is going to be $2,500. $600+ increase on the 4090. So now I'm left in a position of going, what do I do? Do I go in now? I don't want to spend 1,700 quid on a graphics card. I don't really have 1,700 quid to spend on a graphics card. But they've got me by... Yeah, I know. KP. I know. And that's annoying me as well. No, I need it for editing. I need it for editing. So AMD won't be the... AMD doesn't cut it. It will fit even if I have to recase it. It should go in, but I do need to check. Yeah, I got a few inches off the back of the card there. And I'm going to need a new PSU as well, because I'm going to need a 1200 watt PSU. I use Resolve Studio. My 3080 just can't cut it. So I am tempted to do a full rebuild. I have been... I'm on a 5900X at the moment. I didn't go to 6000 series. Or 9000 series. I wanted to go to Intel because I do believe Intel QuickSync as part of their CPU range actually makes a huge difference for H.264 decoding. You can actually offload the decoding to the Intel CPU rather than the GPU. So I'm stuck between, do I keep my AMD system and upgrade to a 4090, or do I build myself an Intel system and keep 3080 and see how it behaves? But I've been holding back for the new Intel, and Jesus, what a mess they've making about things. I thought the 4080 isn't. So the 4090 and the 4080 has massive improvements in the H.264 decoders. So I believe the 4090 and 4080 series actually have the same video decoders. So technically, there's no benefit in the 4090 over the 4080 unless, other than VRAM. And that's part of the reason I'm leaning on the 90 is to get the 24 gigs of VRAM as well. Just to go, this is it for the next 4 years. That's where I'm at. But you can get the 4080 Super with 16 gigs of VRAM. So, and that's a bit cheaper, to say the least. What I don't want to do is buy a 4080 Super and regret I didn't buy the 4090. I want to borrow one. What I want is someone to lend me a 4080 Super and so I can try it. Is really what I need to happen. I need to borrow a 4080. I spent a lot of time looking into this, but I don't know whether to rebuild an Intel system. But I was, like, I didn't want to go 14th gen because that was a waste of time. But now the new Core Ultra 285. Yeah, Arc. It's an interesting proposition. Arc. Again, I don't know whether to... I could do with borrowing one. Because technically, Arc should have the same performance as the Intel CPUs for H.264 decoding. Technically. Oh, yeah, well, you know, the Intel mess has been huge. But could it be worth picking up a 14900K and doing an Intel build and seeing how QuickSync is? I don't want to spend... It's a catch-22. In theory, the 4080 and the 4090 will behave the same. They both have dual H.264 decoders. Yeah, it's not the encoding I need. It's timeline performance. I don't care about export performance. It's timeline performance. All of this is about timeline. I'm currently maxing out the 3080 all of the time in standard use. It's not about decode. I don't care about export time. It can do it overnight. It doesn't bother me. It never takes long anyway. For me, it's about H.264 decoding on timeline. Yeah, it's a mess on Resolve as well, honestly. Timeline performance is a joke, even in Resolve. It's just a joke. And here's part of the problem. I do not yes, I edit in Resolve Studio. I do not transcode, and I do not want to create proxies. I don't have time for messing around with that crap. If I wanted to mess around transcoding and creating proxies, I wouldn't have a problem. It's beautiful with proxies and transcoding. I haven't got time to do it because I record and edit. The way I actually make content is I record and edit. So what I will do is I will sit here, do a bit, and then I add that into the timeline and edit it as I go through. I actually build a video up like building a brick wall. I might do batches of recordings, so usually like an unboxing section and stuff. So I'll do all of that, then I'll lay that out on the timeline, then I'll come back and start doing the other bit, and then I'll do that. But I don't have time to sit here and go, oh, I've just recorded 15 minutes of footage, now I've got to wait for it to transcode. And then dealing with the mess of proxies and dealing with the mess of that. I want to record, move it into the timeline, edit it in the timeline, and not have to put up with the mess of the timeline juttering, stuttering, pausing. It doesn't generally pause, but it goes out of time continuously. Now, if I drop the playback resolution in Resolve, I can definitely smooth things up, but then it looks like Minecraft, which does my nutting as well. All I want is to be able to go woo, 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 up and down the timeline, playback in 2x resolution without a single problem at all. I don't care about export time. And I've battled this for years. You know, I record in 4K. Always do. Because it gives me a bit of latitude. Record to an external monitor in ProRes. Can't because I would have to feed in up to 3 cameras, and there are no camera switches that support 4K. I have an ATM Mini I have all of these, but they only support 1080p resolution. So whilst I would love to record to something like a Ninja 5 directly via HDMI, I can't. I'm in this catch-22. I use a GTX 1080 to record 6K video and resolve no issues. A way better GPU. My disc isn't an issue. I have Samsung. I use SSDs for everything. So I use Samsung. I think I got a 980 Pro on the scratch disk. .4K. The issue is 4K H.264. It's all about the codec. The codec is the problem. Resolve doesn't support AMD properly. That's the problem. That's why I can't use Resolve. Resolve doesn't support AMD properly. It supports it in limited fashion, but Resolve Studio does not get the best performance from. It's specifically set up for NVINC. It's a thing I've been battling on and off for a long, long time. I need a Bangladesh editor. No, I don't record in AV1. That's a possibility. And Intel supports AV1, doesn't it? I don't even get near the cores. Cores-wise, I'm fine. You know, I've got enough cores and threads on the 5900X. It's not the CPU. The GPU... The main issue is this. So if I show you guys this, we were talking about this on my Discord earlier. So the main issue is this. And this is that. Where's the button to open this full screen? Opening browser. There we go. The main issue is this. So that this is timeline playback, right, on some footage with some audio. And if you see on the 3080, the video decode is pegged at 100%, and this is when I start getting problems. Once we peg the video decode at 100%, I'm stuffed. You can also see then GPU utilization is at 100% as well. We're getting close to GPU memory as well at 10 gigs. I only have 10 gigs on the 3080. The A380 beats the 4090 since NVIC doesn't support all codecs. This is my real issue. Is video decode, you see. This is just a playback on the timeline. I am going to move over to H.265 and give that a try. AV1 Mac running Linux. Yeah, that would be... to be honest, even my M2 MacBook Pro has struggled with this a little bit. H.264 is a horrible codec. That's the problem. That's generally the problem. This is what's causing me the issue. This was my CPU usage at the time. That was CPU usage, so we're fine. Loads of cores. Well, threads. Interesting that Intel have dumped hyperthreading. That's super interesting. You think you're right, Eduardo. Your first child and their first child. Yeah, but I'm not sure if there's better decoders for the H.265. AV1 could be the way forward. Resolve OBS now has AV1 support, doesn't it? But yeah, CPU usage is fine. Okay, I'm going to wrap this one up there. 59, yeah, that's the rumor, David. Yeah, I've seen that. They reckon it's going to be over 2.5, because they're basically going to push it up into the Titan territory, aren't they? Is what I'm hearing. If you use Resolve 19 Plus, I should be fine using AMD from what you've read. The problem is, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a card that suddenly is that I can't test. At least with a 4090, that's the there's nothing better. That's part of the point. How much is an A380? And I'm not talking about an Airbus. Is it the A380? Did someone mention the A380? Yeah, cards are a bit more expensive in the UK. Did someone say the A380 on the Intel side? Was it the A380? You need to set up resolved settings to use DNX for your optimized media and then transcode. I haven't got time to transcode. I have zero interest in transcoding. Don't have time for it. I record, I edit. If I have to wait, it doesn't get done. I'm not transcoding. I refuse to transcode. Yes, I know it's my problem. I want to fix the problem with power. I'm taking the Clarkson approach. Power. A750, A770 is the big one. How much is an A770? Yeah, the Titans are expensive. Then my problem will always exist. Well, it shouldn't with enough power. I am expecting to be able to move a freaking thing up and down a timeline in H.264 without getting annoyed. It shouldn't be too much trouble in the end. Although AV1 could be interesting. I'm running out of video memory. I know that. Hence the reason I'm considering a 4080 or a 4090. I'm not running out of system RAM. I'm fine because I've got 64 gigs. But on video RAM, we're getting close. Unfortunately, because NVIDIA skimped on the. Yeah, the 4080 series was a cracking card. Intel Arc A770. There's a refurbished one for 270 quid. Yeah, 3090 does, but you can't buy them now, and any used, you're sort of into dodgy territory. I tell you what I was looking at was actually CX in the UK had some reasonably priced 3090s, but I don't know if I trust it. 239 quid for an A770 Intel. It's only got 8 gigs of RAM though, isn't it? Like a double slot though. It's funny you say that, Mike. I was looking at a Mac Studio. But are you talking the M1 Pro or the M1 Ultra there? Or the M2 or the M2 Pro? I was looking at refurbished Mac Studios, funnily enough. I have been considering that route as well. What I do is I start to edit, and then as I edit, I just have to transcode. Transcoding, no. Oh no, don't get me wrong. You transcode, it is. You do any transcoding, it is smooth. There's no question about that. But to transcoding. Right, I'm wrapping this up. Look after yourselves. Fly high. Good evening. It's late. I'm going. Look after yourself. Back same time, same place next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Don't forget to check out the wiki. Don't forget to check out Discord. Don't forget to check out Patreon.